So it's been about a week since the NFL draft has concluded, and we are
hmm
finally out of the chaos that was free agency. So now it's time to look on how every single team did and prematurely grade how they're going to do this coming season. Greetings, everybody, on the Voice of Reason, and join me as always is Nikki V. Say hi.
Hi,
So yeah, that
I'm
that
good at this.
yes, very good. So yeah, insane draft, like right off the beginning, right out of the gate.
hmm Yeah, like I think we all kind of expected Bryce Young to go number one overall, but then the Texans just decided to embrace chaos.
Yep. Then they decided, you know what? I want the number third overall pick as well.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know if it's the right move, but it's the bold move, and I respect it.
To be fair, the Jets did that also did that last year when they decided to trade up back into the first round to get Jermaine Johnson.
That is true, but there's something special about jumping like to get two picks in the top three. That's that's unprecedented.
Yeah, that is fair. All right.
hmm
So, okay, so like last year, we have a tier list of see how every team did in the draft, as well as talk about their free agency because we forgot to do that before the draft. So,
hmm
as you see here, as everyone on the screen, we have our the top two is going to be our Super Bowl favorites,
hmm
followed by Super Bowl contenders, which are pretty much guaranteed playoff spots, playoff teams, potential
hmm
wild cards, teams that are more than likely going to miss the playoffs, teams that are not going to do really well. They might do okay, but not much. And then the clear number one pick.
Yes.
All right, as always, and today let's start in alphabetical order. Let's start off with the Arizona Cardinals.
Put them in that blue category, and I will not be taking further questions.
Yeah, they honestly had a pretty bad free agency. They lost pretty much everyone to retirement. AJ Green, JJ Watt being the two big ones, and then the only big standout player that they got in free agency was the kicker Matt Prater.
hmm
Because I'm just looking at everyone else. Zach Pascal, David Blau is a backup. Um, let's see, LJ Collier, Zeke Turner. That's pretty much about it. This is pretty much confirming that Arizona is the place to retire.
hmm
And as for the
Yeah,
yeah, and as for the draft, eh,
I do. I do like the fact that they listened to what Kyler Murray wanted, because apparently for the last couple of drafts, he's really wanted offensive line help.
right,
And to be fair, yeah, like he's needed it.
right.
Like his ACL just got turned to goo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're not going to have him for a while. And they did get
hmm
probably the best offensive tackle in the draft right at the beginning with Paris Johnson, and then
hmm
in round four they got John Gaines the second out of UCLA.
hmm
Outside of other playmakers, maybe BJ Ojolari out of LSU.
I
Um,
do like them.
yep, hopefully have a better impact than Isaiah Simmons. Um,
Right.
Garrett Williams, cornerback out of Syracuse in round three, along with Michael Wilson out of Stanford. Um,
hmm They got maybe a potential, like they took a flyer on a possible starter since they're, like we said, not going to have Kyler Murray with Houston quarterback Clayton Tune
mm-hmm.
in the fifth, I think. But yeah, other than that,
Yep,
like,
yep. Fourth pick in the fifth round.
mhm. Yeah, basically they got what they needed to start the rebuild process. But that's exactly what this is going to be. They are going to be like, especially since they lost Buda Baker,
Right.
they lost JJ Watt.
Mm-hmm.
There's been rumors going around forever that they're going to lose Nuke Hopkins. So when that happens, that's just going to be the sign that everything's gone to hell.
Mm-hmm.
So honestly, they should just go ahead, move uh, DeAndre Hopkins, preferably to Baltimore, because that's where like the big talk has been for him.
Yep.
Like, and just get that rebuild supercharged.
Yeah, that's fair. So, yeah, they're definitely on the bottom. So mediocre at best, or are they number one pick? The number one pick contention.
I honestly think that they are the favorites to be the number one overall pick this year. So,
All right. Okie dokie. Next, by the way, I saw it for those watching. I saw Nikki's draft draft tier list. Atlanta was right at the bottom.
mm-hmm.
Care to
What the fuck are they thinking? Has nobody learned? Like, why are people still taking running backs in the first half of the first round?
Yeah, that this is something because they also have they have they have two good runners in Cordell Patterson and who's the other
Oh,
guy?
Algier.
Oh yeah,
Tyler
Algier.
Algier. Like, you could argue that running back was the one thing they're doing good.
Yeah, they decided to pick something else.
Oh God, that's just awful. Like, who needs pass rush? Like, they've only ranked last in the league in pass rushing the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they did go Zach Harrison in the
Right.
third, which is admittedly a nice little get, but still, that's just clown behavior.
Yeah, I mean, looking at how they did in free agency, it's all a big question mark. Heineke from the Commanders, they got Jesse Bates from the Bengals, who's also a question mark. Jonnu Smith in a trade from the Pats. Clay, probably their big pickup was probably Calais Campbell.
Yeah, they definitely made their bigger moves in free agency, or at least more reasonable moves in free agency.
Yeah, and they really
And
didn't.
the
Yeah, they really didn't lose anybody major. I
there
mean,
wasn't much to lose.
yeah, I mean Mariota, Abdullah Anderson, Mike Ford, and Isaiah Oliver. But that's small potatoes compared to whatever the hell they did in the draft.
Right. Yeah, I would say that they have a chance just because the NFC South is wide open.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could realistically win that division with 7 wins.
Yeah. Although I think I'd probably say their best pick probably was Matthew Bergeron, offensive tackle out of Syracuse.
Can never go wrong with a good guard.
Oh yeah. Because I was looking at him. I was looking at him during the second round, seeing where he was going to go because I was hoping that either the Jets or the Bills would eventually take him if he fell. But he ended up going to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So overall, free agency wasn't that good. But I honestly don't see them making the playoffs because I think the other probably two other teams are probably the go ahead playoff teams in the NFC South.
Yeah, that's about where I would put them too. Like if the stars align, they could theoretically win the NFC South. I think that they like the pieces that they brought in free agency are good enough to help them at least get over that hump. Like, and be good enough to get immediately annihilated by whoever's the 5 seed.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, next.
Ooh, I like this team.
The Baltimore Ravens.
These guys killed.
Yeah,
and it's crazy because they didn't have a ton of draft picks, but like, whew, got the most out of them.
Yeah, they got a lot. Zay Flowers, best available running back. Tavius Robinson, out of Ole Miss. Yep.
I really like Trenton Simpson from Clemson. That's really hard to say in sequence. Trenton Simpson Clemson, but like, I think especially since they didn't pick up Patrick Queen's 5th-year option, like that's going to be a pretty big need pretty quickly.
Right. Now, here's a question. Who ultimately won the whole contract dispute with Lamar Jackson?
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that honestly, he got paid what he deserved to get paid because, like, he's the most dynamic quarterback in the league, and we've seen what Baltimore looks like without them, and without them, they are ass.
Right.
By the way, are we streaming or are we just recording?
We're just recording.
Okay, yeah, I thought, like you said earlier, that it made it sound like there was stream happening. But anyway,
No, we're recording.
yeah. But I think that Baltimore could like, slot Trenton Simpson in pretty quickly into Queen's old role.
Right.
But and especially like now that they've got Lamar back, they got rid of Greg Roman, thank Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Drafted Zay Flowers, brought in Odell Beckham Jr. Still developing Rashad Bateman, and been tied to DeAndre Hopkins. Like all of a sudden, this team might look really, really, really good.
Yeah. Now, if that's the case, I think I'll probably put them in potential wild cards because we'll get to Cincy in a little bit, but because Cincy pretty much has a lock in that division unless they somehow collapse.
That's fair.
So I'll put them for now. Put them in potential wild cards.
But I like strong wild card.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Like the kind that goes 12-5.
Oh yeah. All right. Next, my new team, the Buffalo Bills.
Your new squeeze.
The new hotness. Jets, old and busted. Buffalo Bills, new hotness.
New busted hotness.
New busted hotness. Yeah, we'll get to them later. But Bills, pretty good offseason, signing a couple of good players. Got both guards, Connor McGovern and David Edwards from the Cowboys and the Rams. Re-signed Matt Milano to a really good contract. Jordan Poyer and Naheem Hines also re-signed. And then, but the big partners, lost Jamison Crowder, and the big one was Tremaine Edmonds to the Bears.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But as for drafts, I think they addressed pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm. Like, they didn't have a ton of needs left.
Nah.
So they kind of just went for, like, not value pieces, but, like, prize pieces. Like, these are luxury pieces is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, Dalton. I think Dalton Kincaid is going to do really well as a dual threat tight end alongside Dawson Knox. And
yeah, I think that's more just due to the fact that more teams are running 2 tight end sets than usual, so you kind of need 2 strong tight ends.
Right.
So.
And I absolutely love the guard picks. Osiris Torrance from Florida and Nick Broker from Miss.
Yeah, I thought Osiris Torrance could have gone like first round, and he just slid almost to 60. Crazy.
Yeah,
and then they got their Tremaine Edmonds replacement in the third with Dorian Williams.
Right. So yeah, I'm 100% satisfied with how the Bills drafted as well as done in free agency. So I definitely put them. I put them back in Super Bowl contenders.
Me too.
Yep.
That's where I put them.
All right, next, the number 1 pick, the Carolina Panthers.
Mm-hmm. So they did the thing. They moved all the way up to number 1. Got my Bears a big old haul.
Yes, they did.
And they did not screw it up by taking Will Levis.
Good. The guy who puts mayonnaise in coffee.
Oh my God. I am convinced he was actively trying to tank his value, and it worked.
Hey, went to the Titans. But free agency did really good. Got DJ Chark, Adam Thielen. Dalton's their backup, which actually is not terrible. They got Hayden Hurst from the Bengals, which I think is actually a steal, which honestly might be an underdog steal.
Mm-hmm.
And then and they got the first overall pick via trade. I forgot they got Miles Sanders from the Eagles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've built up their offense pretty well. Like they brought in a bunch of people to try and fix what they had been going through, which is good, but that defense is not good right now.
Yeah, and also big key departures. They lost Dante Foreman to the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
DJ Moore to the Bears via trade.
Mm-hmm.
Corey Littleton and
You know, we just see that as recompense for basically taking Greg Olson back in the day for next to nothing.
that is fair. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the draft, we all know they got their the first round pick with Bryce Young. They got their wideout replacement for DJ Chark and Jonathan Mingo.
It is kind of interesting that Jonathan Mingo is actually Matt Corral's number one receiver back when he was at Ole Miss.
Interesting.
And now Matt Corral's just like, I want to trade.
Yeah. But other than that, they again, because of the deal with the Bears, not really much to say as far as their other picks. An edge rusher out of Oregon, a guard out of NC State, and then the safety out of Florida State.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I don't think this is going to be enough to get them in contention yet, because they're still a few years away, and they still have to they basically rebuilt a team, so they need to get a little more chemistry in first.
Right. So,
I would be generous to say mediocre at best.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, for another first year quarterback, still a very young team. We'll just have to see what they do.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next, let's talk about your team, the Chicago Bears.
I will try to be unbiased, but I promise nothing.
Emphasis on try.
All right. So we killed.
Yeah.
We did good. We got what we needed. Like, we, for the life of us, needed somebody to blindside or to protect Justin Fields. And while Darnell Wright is more of a right tackle than a left tackle, like, he might be the best right tackle in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll take that.
Yeah.
They. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
they didn't quite.
Oh, sorry.
Go
Sorry. No, you go first.
Okay. Well, they didn't necessarily go edge rusher, but they did get some defensive line help in Jervin Dexter Sr. and Zach Pickens. I like the Dexter pick. That looks pretty good. I think a sneaky good one might have come in the 5th round with Noah Sewell.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got really big potential, and I think he could be one of those sleeper studs.
Yeah, and just looking at how you did in free agency, outside of trading the number 1 overall pick to get all those draft picks,
and DJ Moore.
And DJ Moore, of course, got Dante Foreman, Robert Tonyan, looking at again Tremaine Edmonds, Andrew Billings, and TJ Edwards from the Eagles. But the big loss was David Montgomery, which
we did also address. We picked up Texas running back who wasn't Bijan Robinson,
Roshan
Johnson. Mm-hmm. Yeah, solid picks. But yeah, I think that the combination of him and Khalil Herbert, that's going to be a fine little running back room. And besides, our number 1 running back's Justin Fields.
You did get some help in the draft. Darnell Wright is your. Wait, was Darnell Wright the only offensive lineman you took?
Yeah. Well, we also took some last year that are still waiting to develop. Like we got Tevin Jenkins last year, and we've got to see where he fits. So like we got a lot of our offensive line help last year, I think.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. Again, still a big question mark for Bears. I would probably say they're not going to be winning the division this year.
No, I would put them in missing playoff.
Yes, definitely. They are definitely the missing playoff team. All
But
right.
on the rise.
All right. Next, let's move on to the Cincinnati Bengals.
All right, these guys.
Yep.
I like what they did in the draft a whole bunch.
Yep. Bengals. Pretty much like also they addressed a lot of things in free agency. Unfortunately, they did again. They lost Hayden Hurst, who I think was their go-to tight end. But
yeah,
they did.
and I think
Had,
them losing Samaje P. Ryan's gonna hurt more.
yeah, because again, Joe Mixon is a giant question mark whether or not he plays this year. But they did end up getting Orlando Brown Jr. From the Chiefs, so that's a good pick up.
Yeah.
And as for the draft,
I do wonder if they're going to end up getting something for Jonah Williams, because after they picked up Orlando Brown Jr., he requested a trade. So that's going to be interesting. Although he might just end up having to move to right if they move on from Lyle Collins.
Right. Yeah, I heard like I was watching the draft. Like some were complaining that you took Miles Murphy first instead of addressing, everything else. But look what they addressed. They got DJ Turner from Michigan to replace. To hopefully get to better their secondary. Jordan Battle from Alabama to replace Jesse
That's
Bates.
a big one.
Yeah. Chase Brown from Illinois to maybe take over Mixon's position. We're still not sure yet. And then the two wide receivers, Charlie Jones and Andre Iosivas.
That sounds right. Out of Princeton.
Yeah.
They got a Brainiac. Yeah. And a punter.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Brad Robbins from Michigan. So yeah,
he's a consistent punter. So I don't know.
Yeah, definitely addressing needs where they needed to. I would also put them with Super Bowl contenders along with the Bills.
That works for me.
All right, next. Oh God, let's talk about the.
Can I put them in number 1 draft pick on principle and then laugh at them that they don't have their number 1 pick?
Maybe I don't know. Because
all right.
Yeah, so Cleveland Browns kept a couple people: Anthony Walker Jr., Siani Takataki, Ethan Pochik, and then the big gains: Elijah Moore from the Jets, and of course they lost Dearness Johnson, who's now in Jacksonville. And then the draft.
They didn't pick until pick number 74, and all things considered, they did all right. Like, I do like Cedric Tillman. Like, I think Dorian Thompson-Robinson could actually be a day 1 starter for them. Like, if, like... Well, no, because Deshaun's actually going to play this season, but, like, if he gets in trouble again, like, I don't hate the Dorian Thompson-Robinson pick.
No. I think... I don't know, because I don't think they're going to be like number 1 contenders, but that they are definitely going to be last in the division because every other team got better.
Yeah, like the Bengals are still the Bengals. The Ravens like massively improved their offense, and the Steelers are going to get to 9-8 by sheer goddamn destiny.
Yeah, this is gonna be a tough one because it's weird because CBS ranked the Browns as the 7th best draft on paper, but again,
I feel like that's grading on a curve since they didn't have their first pick till the mid-third.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like either mediocre at best or missing playoffs is the tier for them.
I'm gonna be harsh and say mediocre at best.
You do that.
All right. Okay, next, the only team not to get an A grade. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm not sure. Jerry Jones is he's always been a little bit cuckoo bananas, but at least the one thing that he could hang his hat on was he was a pretty good drafter.
Mm.
This feels like one of those Patriots drafts where he just has a completely different big board than everybody else,
Right.
and we're just expected to be like, oh, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, but in free agency they went to freaking town. Signing Brandon Cooks, getting Stephon Gilmore, re-signing Leighton Vander Esch, keeping Cooper Rush as backup, getting Dante Fowler, Alec Lindstrom, and Juwani Thomas. The only real big
and all that just to get bopped in the first round in hilarious fashion.
Yeah. So, yeah, that draft was not a good one. Because I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what they did. I think they just pretty much went for best overall because I know they got screwed with the whatchamacallit pick with the running backs picks because I think we had 2 go in the first round, Bijan Robinson and then the other guy. I can't remember.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yep. So they had to wait until the 6th round to get a running back.
Although the story behind that is pretty nice.
Mm.
The Deuce Vaughn, his dad is actually one of the scouts for the Cowboys, and he got to call him to make that announcement.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because I know. Yeah, I know. I think the Cowboys are also mad at the Bills for taking the best tight end in the draft.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but tight end was a particularly deep class this year. There's plenty of tight ends that could have gone anywhere, and they would have turned out all right.
Yeah. So overall,
mid.
Yeah, they're mid, but I'm gonna be kind and say potential wild card.
That's in the middle, so
yeah,
checks out.
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't think they're gonna miss the playoffs. I think that they're just gonna fall apart in hilarious fashion. We're 2 years running now, so I'm excited to see what they're gonna cook up this year.
Right. All right. Next, moving on, let's head to the West for the Denver Broncos.
So they've got some stuff to figure out.
Yep. Again, like the Cowboys, they went to town in free agency.
Is Sean Payton a free agent?
I think so. I'm not sure. Because just looking at, they got Mike McGlinchey. The big signing was Mike McGlinchey, but that's considered a question mark from the 49ers. Let's see what else. Jared Stidham from the Raiders. And Samaje Perine for the Bengals. So I think that's probably their best pickup.
I agree.
As for departures, a lot of people. Chase Edmonds, the big one, and let's see, Calvin Anderson to the Patriots, and Andrew Beck to the Texans. But yeah, going to town in free agency as far as how they did in the draft, I know they had to pick late and only had a few. I think they're probably the big standout is the wide receiver Marvin Mims for Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see who else. Man, I
think
guess
Riley Moss could be something, but like, there's not a lot to get super excited about from this draft class.
yeah, and I guess probably the big one is Drew Sanders from Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah. I don't know. Like, so they're still in the AFC West, so they
right.
still got to contend with the Chargers, still got to contend with the Chiefs, of course,
Yeah,
and who else? The
the
Raiders.
Raiders.
So
Yeah,
that's at least two good teams that they're going to have to really fight with.
yeah. So it's like I said, the Raiders and the Broncos are the two big question marks. So it's a matter of whether or not they're like a missing playoff team by only just a bit, or again, I'm gonna be harsh and say mediocre at best as well.
Oh, wow.
I think Sean Payton's gonna put them in the right direction, but they have to contend with not just they have to contend with the AFC East this year, all of the AFC East.
My only question is, like, I don't know if Sean Payton wants to be a part of a rebuild. So if the Broncos are going to be good, he's going to be expecting them to be good now.
Yeah. Which is why I don't think they're going to be that hot. Like they might sneak a win against the Chargers or the Raiders, but other than that, like Russell needs to get his shit together.
Yeah.
And order more Danger Witches.
I'm gonna have to try one of those at some point. Apparently, they're actually good.
Yeah, I heard that they're okay, but I haven't seen them in my whatchamacallit.
I think after Russell started like sucking hard and fast, like they took it off the menu, but you could still get the individual pieces together.
Yeah, I think you have to prep it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next, let's talk about the Detroit Lions.
This is gonna be fun.
Yeah, so they did great in free agency, signing David Montgomery, Cameron Sutton, Manuel Mosley, and getting C.J. Gardner-Johnson from the Eagles.
That's a good pickup.
Yep. Big losses, however, Jamal Williams, DJ Chark, and Gerard Davis.
Mm-hmm.
But as for their draft, I think everyone was confused as to why they picked running back 12, and then they traded DeAndre Swift and said, "Oh, that's why."
Yeah, I mean, they probably didn't need to address that with the number 12 overall pick, but apparently the Patriots were looking at him pretty harshly, or pretty strongly. So if they wanted Jameer, they would have to take him there.
Yeah.
But just like stop taking running backs in the top dozen.
Yeah. But other than that, excellent. Jack Campbell, Brian Branch was a freaking steal.
They could have got him at 18.
I know, and they freaking fleeced the Packers.
Like, I am convinced that like the entire NFC North is colluding with each other to make the Lions kind of good, because like the same exact thing happened last year with the Vikings letting like trading up with the Vikings and letting them get Jameson Williams.
Mm-hmm. Right. And now the downside is that he's going to be out for 5-6 games because he decided to bet in a different league on the facilities. Oops.
Yeah, someone get them the Michigan gambling addiction helpline phone number.
Again, it wasn't that. Again, like I said, it wasn't that he was betting. It's that he was betting on the facilities, which is a no-no.
Yeah, I guess that's a problem, but I don't know. It just feels weird that you can get suspended for betting on a different league.
I know, it's weird, but yeah, Brian Branch is the steal. Hendon Hooker is going to be picked up in the 3rd round. Learn behind Jared Goff. He could become a star in the future. We'll see.
I think Hendon Hooker is actually older than Jared Goff.
Yeah, no,
It's close.
yeah, I think so.
Jared Goff age. Keep going.
But yeah,
Yeah, Jared Goff's 28 and Hendon Hooker I think is 26.
okay, so he's only just younger.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think Detroit addressed like
25, excuse me.
yeah, so yeah, Detroit question mark in the beginning, but then afterwards, oh yeah, they did good. They did really good.
Yeah, that's what kind of got me to be like not put them in fire everybody tier like I did with the Falcons, because like going for an inside linebacker at 18 is a little bit
Yeah.
sus, but the rest of it was just Sam Laporta. They got their replacement for T.J. Hawkinson.
Right. I love the call that Dan Campbell made to Jack Campbell. Hey, I like your last name.
Oh, pure nepotism. Pure nepotism.
But yeah, so this is first surprise pick. I'm putting the Detroit Lions in playoff teams.
That I think is the right play. I think Detroit, like last year, Detroit made a really big jump, and I think they continue that this year.
Right. So now let's talk about the Green Bay Packers.
It's a new day. Yes, it is.
Yep. Big signing today as we're recording this video. A restructured contract for Jordan Love, which is basically a make it or break it contract. Instead of picking up the 5th-year option.
Interesting.
And then the only really big signing in free agency was Tavarius Moore, and then re-signing Rudy Ford, Eric Wilson, and Keenzy and Nixon, their star kick returner. Everything else, lost Rodgers, lost Lazard, lost Randall Cobb to retirement. Tunyon's going to the Bears, Jerron Reed's going to the Seahawks, and Dean Lowry went to the Vikings.
Thanks for Big Bob, by the way.
I'm sure Tom is thanking you. But as for the draft, holy look at all those picks. Look at all those damn picks.
Compensatory picks. Compensatory picks everywhere.
And yeah, they addressed a lot. They got 2 tight ends, Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft. They got an edge rusher to basically help out. Two edge rushers. To help about Preston Smith and Lucas Finesse and Carl Brooks. They got a kicker to replace Mason Crosby with Anders Carlson. They got another running back with Lou Nichols. They got 3? Hang on, just looking at the wide receivers. Jaden Reed out of Michigan State. Dontavian Wicks out of Virginia, and Grant DeBose out of Charlotte. So they got a lot of picks.
I wonder if they know they're allowed to take a first-round receiver. Has anybody told them that?
I don't know.
Because they could have had Jackson Smith and Najigba, but they're just like, we'll go ahead and get our Rashawn Gary replacement for 2 years down the road.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, they did address a lot on defense, edge. Colby Wooden, defensive lineman out of Auburn, and then which sucks because they had to wait till the 7th round to get a safety in Anthony Johnson Jr. from Iowa State. Which again they could have gotten Branch, but they decided not to.
Yeah, where did Brian Branch end up going?
Detroit.
Yeah, they got him at 45. Why not take?
Well, no, that's the pick that they traded out for Detroit.
But why didn't they just get him at 42 instead of Musgrave, and then just take Darnell Washington later?
I don't know. I don't know what Gutekunst was thinking. That's why I was like, what the hell? Like, what the heck are you doing? Like, you passed on Branch to get. Look, I'm fine with getting more picks, but you could have had the best safety in the league. God, but overall, I mean, they did address needs, and definitely they spent all their draft capital in all the capital that they had on the draft. I I'm debating. I want to be nice to the Packers because this is a new era. This is
Keep in mind the downgrade from Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love is going to be big.
right. So I'm gonna be nice and go into missing playoff teams.
I think that's fair.
Yes. I don't think they're potential wild cards as of yet.
No, I would need to see Jordan Love actually like produce in games that aren't like just full-length garbage time games.
Right. All right. All right. Next, let's talk about the chaos team that is the Houston Texans.
You know what? I am impressed by your moxie.
Yeah, they just again going ham in free agency. I'm just going through all their like the big name picks. Devin Singletary from the Bills, Noah Brown from the Cowboys, Hassan Ridgeway for the 49ers, Corey Littleton for the Panthers, Sheldon Rankins from the Jets, Case Keenum as their backup from the Bills. Let's see, Shaq Mason traded from the Bucks, Dalton Schultz from the Cowboys, and Robert Woods from the Titans. And then they gave up a lot in free agency. O.J. Howard from the Raiders. O.J. Howard went to the Raiders. Philip Dorsett went to the Raiders. Let's see, Brandon Cooks went to the Cowboys. And Kyle Allen went to the Bills. So, they pretty much traded their backup quarterbacks. So, yeah. And then, excuse me. Oh, God. And so, the draft, Houston Texans.
I'm the bold action man. I love this draft. I'm just gonna be real.
This was fun.
Yes.
This was fun. C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson Jr. right at the bat. Juice Scruggs.
Scruggs is gonna be good.
Mm-hmm.
Tank Dell might actually be their number one receiver.
Yep.
And then they got freaking Henry TwoTwo.
Mm-hmm.
In the 5th. How'd they get away with that one?
No one.
The teams just forget.
Maybe. Well, again, keep in mind the SEC is like stacked for players.
Yeah. True.
So everyone was going for the trenches when trenches or utility players. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And the linebackers and the safeties are like, hey, we're still here.
The only problem right now I'm envisioning is that I don't think they're going to be good enough to not be upset that they eventually give up what might be a top 10 pick next year.
Oh yeah, no.
In fact, will almost certainly be a top 10 pick next year. So.
Yeah, but and again, AFC South is still like has always been the giant question mark because. Yeah, I do think the Texans are going to be better this year. But
sure,
not by a lot.
Better than the number one. Yeah. Better than a team that's outright tanking.
No. I mean, they could possibly go for 2. Given that Indianapolis is also a giant question mark and Tennessee's in a downward spiral.
I don't think it's going to be enough. And I think that Jacksonville's going to freaking mollywop this division.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Fun word.
I think I told you what that word mollywopped.
If so, I happily will take that.
So I'm gonna be really damn generous and say they're missing the playoffs.
Wow. That is generous.
Because again, I don't trust. I don't feel like Indy or Tennessee is going to come back from, again, Indy has too many question marks, and Tennessee, if they don't come back, Vrabel's going to get fired.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they did get rid of Downing, so maybe that was their issue. Maybe that was their big issue. So we'll see.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of the AFC South, let's move on now to Indianapolis.
I mean, they tried. Hard
Eh.
to say they didn't try. I love the fact that they got Edituame Adebaware in the fourth.
Mm-hmm.
First try.
Yeah. Yep. And
All right, but
and also grabbing what's his face? Crap, I'm trying to remember. Guy's
quarterback?
Name. Oh yeah,
receiver?
AR-15.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson.
Right.
It's a bold move, but it's the move that most they did a poll somewhere where they checked to see how many tweets included the words bust plus draft pick, and Anthony Richardson was the most. So it's a divisive pick to be sure.
Yeah, because his stock rose a lot. At the start of the year, he was mid first round, but his stock ended up rising after the combine.
Right.
So, and just looking how they did the Colts did in free agency. I think I'm just looking at these. Big pickups: Sansa Bukum, Matt Gay from the Rams, Isaiah McKenzie, and the man, the mustache, the legend, Gardner Minshew II.
Florida man.
Yep, they signed Florida man. But as far as departures, Paris Campbell is their big one. Stephon Gilmore, Matt Pryor, Brandon Faison. I don't know. There's too many question marks with this team. So, is Anthony Richardson the guy? Are they going to start Minshew?
I think the best play is definitely to start Minshew for the first however long they have until they feel like they can actually put Anthony Richardson on, basically ease him in, put him in on some RPO packages,
right?
Make the transition kind of easy for him.
Yeah.
They got him a good receiver in Josh Downs. I thought he could have been a second round pick.
Yep. Yeah, so I'll also put them in missing playoffs along with the Texans, but I think the Texans are going to be better than the Colts, and I don't say that.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I think they should go into mediocre at best.
All right.
Because I don't think that they're going to be good enough to come week 16. Do you think that they're going to be still eligible to make the playoffs?
Probably not.
Yeah, that's my stake for that line.
All right, let's move on. Still stick in the AFC South. Let's move on to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Did you see Benchwarmer Brand's thing about how Trevor Lawrence is now the elder statesman in the AFC South?
I think so. I might have just missed that short.
Mr. Lawrence, I threw up. I got into a drinking contest with Gardner Minshew.
Jeez. Oh my god. Oh god. Anyway, free agency, not really that many pickups. They got Dearness Johnson from the Browns, and Michael Dogby from the Cardinals. Re-signed pretty much re-signed everybody.
They could afford to. They barely had any salary cap last year.
Right. Re-signed Trey Wingard, Evan Ingram, CJ Beathard. They franchise tagged Evan Ingram. Riley Patterson, Tava Campbell, and they extended Roy Robertson Harris. Yeah, the only big loss I think was probably Chris Manhurts to the Broncos.
Didn't they lose Juwan James?
Juwan Taylor.
Or Juwan Taylor, thank you.
Yep.
To the Chiefs, I want to say?
Yes.
Yeah, which, coincidentally, first-round pick. Maybe not coincidentally, but still.
Yep. And then spelled Jacksonville with an X.
Mhm.
Anyway, Jacksonville Jaguars. A lot of picks. Not a lot of sexy picks, but picks that are needed. Anton Harrison from
They got a fullback.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, shoot. One second. Where'd it go? Where'd it go?
Tank Bigsby.
Yeah.
No. Who was that? The fullback they picked?
No, at the very end, Derek Parrish out of Houston.
Oh, okay. It says D line for some reason.
Really?
Yeah.
He must be one of it must be like that guy from the Steelers last year who was like somebody who could play both.
Okay. But yeah, again, not a lot of sexy picks, but picks they needed. Again, like I said, Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma, Brenton Strange out of Penn State. Got Yasser Abdullah from Louisville.
That's gonna be a pretty good one, I like.
And then
Oh yeah, like Cam Robinson's gonna be suspended too, so
right,
they need tackle help more than ever.
right. So that's why they picked Harrison. And and forgot Calvin Ridley's going to be back.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, now Trevor Lawrence has a veteran target.
Yeah, luckily, gambling is not legal in the state of Florida, so he's good there.
Okay, that's good. So yeah, not a sexy draft, but a draft that's worth getting. And again, a lot of re-signings. Definitely putting Jaguars into playoff teams.
It feels weird to have those two teams as playoff teams, but yeah.
The freaking Lions and the Jaguars. I can't believe it.
This is the strange timeline.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's go back to normalcy and talk about one of the Super Bowl favorites. Let's talk about the reigning champions, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, just go ahead and put them in that top tier and let us be angry.
Yeah, they were they got lucky that they had the draft in KC, and they were just parading around all three Lombardi trophies.
Just showing them off wherever they could, like ha 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 ha. Everybody else sucks but us.
I love Tom Brady. Aw, the draft's over. We weren't done showing off our Lombardis.
Insufferable.
In terms of free agency, again, like we said, Juwan Taylor, Drew Tranquil from the Chargers, Byron Coward from the Colts, and Charles Omenihu from the 49ers, and then re-signing nothing big. Shane Bichelle re-signed, Derek Nandi, interior defensive lineman, but they did release a couple people. They released Frank Clark. They lost Orlando Brown to the Bengals. Juju went to the Patriots. McCall Hartman went to the Jets. Andrew Wiley went to the Commanders. Ronald Jones II went to the Cowboys. They did lose a lot. But as far as the draft, Kansas City, there we go. Felix Uzama, edge rusher. Rashee Rice from Southern Methodist. Other offensive tackle help from Oklahoma, Wanya Morris. Safety.
That receiving room is so young right now because it's Rashee Rice, Sky Moore, and who was that other receiver that they drafted last year?
Oh, I'm trying to remember. It's not fuck. I can't. I don't.
Hang on, I'm pulling up their roster. Receiver. It's not Justin Ross, but he's another one.
Damn.
Damn.
Oh, was it like Christian something? No, because I think it started with a
Christian
C.
Watson was a Packer.
Yeah, no, it started with. I thought it started with a C.
Hang on, I'm gonna find Chiefs draft history. That'll work.
Yeah, that'll do.
All right. So last year they drafted. Oh wow, they only did draft one, but they also signed Justin Ross to be like an undrafted free agent or something.
Yeah. But yeah, who needs another wide receiver when you have freaking Travis Kelce?
True. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I think Rashee Rice is probably their second go-to wide receiver outside of Sky Moore and Justin Ross. But other than that, again, the Super Bowl, they're pretty much Super Bowl contenders, Super Bowl favorites, I should say.
Yep, nothing's really changed there.
Yep. All right, next, moving on to the Los Angeles Chargers. I think they actually didn't do too bad as far as the draft. Quentin Johnson from TCU, Tuli Tupoli from Tuipolatu from USC as their edge rusher. Darius Davis from TCU. Oh yeah.
Why does this have Los Angeles ahead of Las Vegas?
Oh,
that's weird.
I don't know. I think I might have put that backwards.
Okay. Well, never mind.
All right, but anyway, yeah. So let's talk about the two California teams before we get to the Vegas team.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, Chargers. They might as well be called the Los Angeles Horn Frogs.
They got Quentin Johnston in the first. They got Darius Davis in the fourth, and Max Duggan in the seventh.
Yeah.
Like, shit, that game took place in SoFi. They might as well have just stayed there.
Probably. But they also picked more stuff out west. Like I said, Tuli Tuipolatu from USC, Diane Henley from Washington State, and Scott Matlock from Boise State.
The only one that they didn't go for that wasn't a West Coast team or a West Coast division was Clemson offensive tackle Jordan McFadden, which they've needed a right tackle for a good while.
Yeah. And then as far as excuse me, as far as their free agency, not a lot happened. They got Eric Kendricks from the Vikings. Resigned Cameron Dicker.
Dicker to kicker.
Yep. Morgan Fox, J.K. Resigned their punter. Resigned their other backup quarterback, and Easton Stick. And only 3 departures in Joey Gazzano, Storm Norton, and Drew Tranquil.
Yeah, Storm Norton was that right tackle, and he was not good.
Yeah, so maybe the blessing in disguise when they got rid of him.
Yeah. But yeah, Quentin Johnston, like on paper, you wouldn't think that they would need another receiver because they've got Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Yeah. But like one or both of them are injured every single year, and it feels like by week 10 they're starting 7th stringers. So
yeah,
it's a sneaky good play, I think.
Yeah. So for these guys, I guess potential wild card.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where they're at right now. Because I don't think that they're unseating the Chiefs anytime soon. And they're the only team in the AFC West that I think really has that sort of ceiling.
All right. Yeah. Okay, in the meantime, let's talk about the other Los Angeles team, the Los Angeles Rams. They were hurt. They were hurting last year.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think they actually got better because they lost so many freaking people.
Yeah, they are fully into their rebuilding phase, and it's about time because they're about to start having first-round picks again.
Oh, good. Well, until they decide not to.
until they decide once again, fuck them picks.
Yeah, because they lost again. Baker Mayfield, Malcolm Brown, Brandon Powell, Leonard Floyd. They lost. Greg Gaines. They lost. Bobby Wagner. They lost. They lost Jalen Ramsey, Taylor Rapp, Nick Scott. They lost Matt Gay, as we mentioned earlier. As far as like people that they retained, Hunter Long, Brian Allen, Marquise Copeland, Sean Jolly. They had to release so many freaking players because they pretty much were in cap hell.
Yeah.
And as far as how they did in the draft, pretty much all of them came in the later rounds. Picked up Steve Avila from TCU. And they got Stetson Bennett.
Yeah. Georgia in the 4th or 5th.
Yeah, from the 4th in the 4th.
Yeah, like again, the game took place in Los Angeles. They could have just stayed there.
That's there, and yeah, they also got his offensive tackle Warren McClendon as well.
That's good.
So,
I do like 6th round pick TCU Travius Hodges Tomlinson. I believe the son of LaDainian.
Huh.
He's either the son or the cousin or some kind of related to him, but yeah.
Yeah. But I find it interesting that the Rams have 2 Georgia quarterbacks on their team.
Yeah, Stafford and
Stafford and Bennett. I don't know. I mean, this is the only team I think in the NFC West has a giant question mark on them.
Yeah.
Because I do think that Seattle and San Francisco are pretty much locks for the playoffs, and we all know that Arizona is going to be the number 1 pick. I think this might be the rebuilding year for the Rams, so I think I'm going to put them at mediocre at best.
I think that's the play.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to Las Vegas Raiders. Sorry.
Okay.
All right, move on to the Raiders.
So I like a lot of the stuff they did in the draft. But you can go ahead and talk about their free agency stuff.
Yep. So as far as free agency, let's see if it'll allow me to get a lot of additions. Picked up they got Jimmy Garoppolo for the 49ers, Austin Hooper from the Titans, Jacoby Myers from the Pats, Cam Sims from the Commanders, Philip Dorsett from the Texans. Let's see who else that's sticking out here. Jaquan Johnson from the Bills, O.J. Howard from the Texans, re-signed Josh Jacobs. Is he on the franchise tag? I forget if he is.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it might be. Yeah, I think it might be franchise tagged. Re-signed Keelan Cole. And then as far as the big departures, Derek Carr to the Saints, which they released him, and then the Saints just picked him up for free.
But they basically 1-for-1 replaced him.
Right. The big one I think was trading Darren Waller to the Giants. I know he has.
That's weird.
Yeah, I know he has injury concerns, but he was like their go-to pass catcher alongside Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah,
but they at least replaced him pretty well.
The only one that I actually agree with you get rid of was Clelin Ferrell.
Yeah, that's like the iconic pick of the John Gruden regime, because it's just like, why? You could have got him at like 22.
Yeah,
you could have got him with the pick you got Josh Jacobs with.
Yeah, so yeah, they picked him 4th over like so many other like edge rushers. But again, they could have picked. I was gonna say they could have picked Chase Young. They could have picked up like Dexter Lawrence, or they could have picked up what's his face from Montez Sweat. But no,
let's hear.
They went the bizarre draft pick.
They got cute, is what they did.
Yeah.
Was it 2019 when that happened?
Yeah, 2019.
Yeah, they could have had Josh Allen, the other Josh Allen.
Right, the Josh Allen who sacked Josh Allen, who
picked off
Josh
Allen
and then picked off Josh Allen.
Or Rashawn Gary.
Yep.
Or Brian Burns. Or Jeffrey Simmons. Jesus Christ, this gets worse the farther I scroll down.
Yep. Yeah, 2019 was not a good year for the Raiders. But draft was, like you said, draft was good. Getting Tyree Wilson from Texas Tech.
He was starting to. Tyree Wilson was starting to get like fringe top 3 like press during the in the pre-draft stuff. So for him to fall to 7 and like the Raiders to get him, that's huge.
Yeah, and then once Dalton Kincaid was gone, they got the Mayo and Michael Mayer.
Yeah, like Michael Mayer, I think is like he's basically 1A or 1A 1B with Dalton Kincaid as the top tight end on the board, which is kind of surprising as to why Sam Laporta ended up going ahead of him, but still.
Yeah, but overall the draft was not too bad. But I think they're still in the same category as the Broncos, at mediocre at best.
Yeah, we're filling that mediocre tier up real big.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, if these guys they will have wins. It's just they're gonna have more wins than the Cardinals. Unless we get to later on, so say I was like, no, this team is definitely going to be tanking for the number 1 pick next year. Right. All right. Next, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins. They didn't have a first-round pick because Stephen Ross was caught tampering.
Oh yeah. Good job, guys.
Yeah, good job. And again, as for pickups, a lot of big ones. Picking up both Braxton Berrios and Mike White from the Jets. Getting Jalen Ramsey in a trade with the Rams. Let's see, who else did they got? Taylor Rapp from the Rams. David Long Jr. from the Titans. Freddie Swain for the Broncos. Re-signed a lot of both the running backs, Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert.
That didn't stop him from going running back in the draft.
No, they did not. And Myles Gaskin. So they have 4 running backs. One of them is gonna get dropped. But the big departures: Mike Gesicki went to the Patriots. Thomas Morstead went to the Jets, their punter. Hunter Long went to the Rams. And Landon Roberts went to the Steelers.
Right.
Yeah, so as far as the Dolphins draft is concerned, let's have a look.
Terrifying.
4 picks this year. They only had 4. And
yeah. And I'm not sure if I agree with any of them, if I'm being honest.
Cam Smith from Carolina, Devin Akane from Texas A&M, Elijah Higgins from Stanford, and Ryan Haynes from Michigan.
The Cam Smith pick on paper is great. Like that's great value. They also just got Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard. Like, did they need to devote their first pick to corner, which might be their best position? It's kind of like what the Falcons did.
Yeah,
and then Devin Achane? I'm going to say Achane.
I think so.
Like, in the third, similar. Like, they've already loaded up at running back. Like, granted, they don't have that bell cow, but they really don't need one because their committee is pretty strong as is.
Yeah. I don't know, because the Dolphins on paper should be like a potential wild card team like they were last year.
Yeah, I think that it's just on the contingent that like Tua Tagovailoa's brain doesn't melt.
Right. You know, I'm
I
I'm gonna be
I would
harsh
say
and say,
playoff team.
yeah, I'm gonna be harsh and say I think they're gonna miss the playoffs.
Ooh, spicy.
Yeah,
Keep in mind the division that they're in. They're gonna play the Jets and they're gonna play the Bills.
yeah.
So
So,
that's tough.
mm-hmm. And with yeah, so that again, like that's why I say I think they might miss the playoffs this year, and
hmm
it might be the Pats or the Jets,
hmm
that sneaks into the wild card.
Not the
Um,
Pats. Like the Pats. The Pats.
we'll get to them. We got two more picks. We got one more pick before them.
Okay.
All right, all right. Now let's move on to the Minnesota Vikings. Sorry,
Frauds. Frauds.
yeah, like you said, frauds. They are frauds.
Went 13-3 and then got embarrassed.
At home to the Giants.
hmm
But they actually did not too bad in free. Okay, they actually had the worst free agency out of everybody. Their only really big one picking up Dean Lowry from the Packers and Byron Murphy from the Cardinals, and re-signing Alexander Madison and Garrett Bradbury, but lost Adam Thielen, Irv Smith Jr., Dalvin Tomlinson, Eric Kendricks, and Patrick Peterson.
Not great.
No.
And then in the draft, I do like the Jordan Addison pickup. I think that him alongside Justin Jefferson is going to make me cry for the next decade.
Yeah.
But other than that, like, nothing here is really moving the needle.
Not even Jay Ward from LSU to help out in the backfield.
Not, like, I think he's okay, but I don't think that he's gonna like set the world on fire or anything.
Well, I was gonna say, so the only other pick I think it would maybe probably not set the world on fire would be Mekhi Blackman basically taking over for Patrick Peterson.
Sure. Why not?
Yeah. So let's see what. So last year they won the division. They are not. I don't even think they're potential playoff. I think they're missing the playoffs.
I think they miss.
I
think they miss the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that the Vikings, like, last year was just like their big chance, and they lost to a team that most people didn't even think should have made the playoffs.
Right.
So, and they did not get better, while the rest of the division did, aside from Green Bay.
Yeah. All right. Now let's move on to the Pats.
Right. I mean, they did blow it up a little bit.
Yep. Mike Gesicki, Juju Smith-Schuster, James Robinson. Oh, right. They picked up James Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
I keep forgetting James Robinson was like there for a hot second on the Jets. But most of their stuff went into re-signing pretty much everyone: Jonathan Jones, Matthew Slater, Jabril Peppers, looking, Mac Wilson, and then Scotty Washington. And their big departures: Jonnu Smith in a trade to the Falcons, Jacoby Myers to the Raiders, Jake Bailey to the Dolphins. Devin McCourty, of course, retired, and Nelson Aguilar, maybe, to the Ravens. So,
Aguilar.
Yeah.
Holy shit! These guys got 2 special teams players.
Mm-hmm.
This is peak Belichick draft. Yeah, and at least he saved his like weird "who the hell is this guy" pick for the 3rd round when he got Marte Mapu out of goddamn Sacramento State. Had to be one.
Yeah. There was I forget. Did they get the first kicker out of the draft with Ryland, or was that somebody else?
No, there was one in the 3rd.
Yeah. Well,
San Francisco got one in the 3rd.
Yeah. Was it the Kansas State guy?
I'm checking. No, Michigan.
Michigan.
Jake Moody.
Yes. Um, yeah, they loaded up on defense. Christian Gonzalez, Kenyon White, Isaiah Bolden, Amir Speed,
Keon White, by the way.
Keon White. Thank you.
But dude, Christian Gonzalez falling to them is like criminal. Because like the one position that they freaking are excellent at developing is corners, and they got like one of the best ones in the class.
Yeah, they traded out for that position, and
still got him.
Which I call collusion.
Collusion
with the freaking Steelers. That being said,
I love Keyshawn Boutte in the 6th. That is a get.
Oh yeah, their wideout.
Yeah, like he had a kind of bad combine, but he was a star at LSU.
Now the question is now, do they think they'll miss the playoffs, or do you think they're a potential wild card?
I think that they are close, but I think they miss the playoffs.
Alrighty.
If we don't end up having 14 teams in the top 4 rows when we're done, I'm okay with moving the Pats up. But for now, no.
Okay. That is fair. All right, now let's move on to who I think actually might win the South, the New Orleans Saints.
Yeah, they kind of like number one that they did very good in this draft, I think.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, someone's got to win this goddamn division.
Yeah,
right? Have we made sure of that?
I'm fairly certain. I mean, as far as the big key additions, the two big key additions, Derek Carr and Jamal Williams.
That's big.
Yeah, so with those picks, they automatically have a shot at winning the division. And again, re-signing Jameis Winston is a big one. Re-signing Michael Thomas.
They had a tight end that got like a pretty hefty contract that is going to be
Juwan Johnson.
Thank you.
You're welcome. As far as departures, Dalton, Callaway. It's probably as far as like the big names.
Yeah, the ones they're gonna miss.
Yeah. Then as far as the draft, they're either going to be happy that they missed Nolan Smith, or they're going to be kicking themselves that they missed on Nolan Smith.
Yeah, like honestly, at 29 they had the choice between either Brian Breezy or Nolan Smith. And like you can't go wrong with either of those.
Nah.
Like those were both people who could have gone in the first 15 selections.
Yep. Ooh, pardon me. And then also getting another Fresno State alum in Jake Haener.
Yep. They like those now.
Yeah, a lot of TCU guys went. Kendre Miller from TCU in the third round.
I think that could be especially important if Kamara misses time.
Oh yes, almost certainly. Well, again, now that Jamal Williams is there, most certainly they'll fill that position. And then their only other wide receiver pickup was A.T. Perry from Wake Forest in the 6th.
Yeah, downfield threat kind of guy, like fuck it, go deep.
Yep.
And Carr's got the arm to make that kind of thing work.
Yeah. So it's been a while, but I think I'm putting the Saints in playoff teams.
The Lions, the Jaguars, and the Saints.
I know.
This is cursed.
These are division winners. All right, next, let's move on.
It's going to get even weirder when you put the Jets in there.
I know. All right, let's move on to the other New York / New Jersey team. Let's move on to the New York Football Giants. So, Daniel Jones got paid, whether it was
Saquon Barkley did not.
No, but maybe they'll save that for next year when they actually give him a proper deal. But they did sign a lot and retained a lot of people. They got Matt Breida, Darren Waller. I'm just naming off a few. Gerard Davis, Darius Slayton, Jeff Smith. Let's see, Lawrence Cager. These are also the people they also resigned. Oh right, Paris Campbell from Indy. Yeah, I really,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So hopefully, as long as these guys stay healthy, I think they're a guarantee. They should make it to the the wild card.
Yeah, I think this is a wild card team. Like Deontay Banks, I'm not entirely sure about because I just don't remember seeing him that much in the pre-draft process. But
Yeah.
like from what it sounds like, that's an all right pick. But the rest of it, like they just added pieces to a team that already is in a good place. So
Yep.
I think as long as they re-sign Saquon or get him back on the team,
Right.
then they
Yeah.
should be fine.
Yeah. They'll probably shred some draft capital for next year, so that way they can keep Saquon. Um,
Hmm.
but I'm happy with probably the best name in the draft in John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota.
That is a pretty good one. There was one earlier that I liked even better. Nesta Jade Silvera.
Mm,
That's strong.
yeah, I think Schmitz and one other guy. I think it was one of the guys that the Jets took for their center.
Oh, for the all-name team.
Uh, yeah. Well, I'm just saying as far as like their top the top centers taken.
Oh, okay.
Schmitz and yeah Schmitz and we'll get to the Jets later, but their center was also a big pick. Um,
Hmm.
as far as other weapons, Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee in the third round.
Yeah.
Um, then Javarius Owens from Houston and Trey Hawkins the third from Old Dominion to help out in the backfield. Um, but
All good. All good.
yeah, all that solid draft, good re-signing in the free agency. So I will definitely put these guys in potential wild cards.
Yep. Works for me.
Yep. All right, next.
Is your New York Jets.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. So everyone knows the big signing. Uh,
Yep. Yep.
Aaron Rodgers is officially a New York Jet. They traded a lot to get him.
Basically, two second rounders, and a first round pick swap, with one of those seconds possibly being able to become a first.
Right. And so far, they did pick up a good number of other people. Like I said, McCole Hartman, Alan Lazard was one of the Aaron Rodgers basically requested. Hey, can you make sure I have my top wideout, like one of my top wideouts to go to, to bring over. Picked up Thomas
And he's a
Moore.
good blocker.
Yeah. They got rid of Braden Mann and picked up Thomas Morstead from the Dolphins, which I think is a really good pickup. Let's see. Chuck Clark could help out in the secondary with from the Ravens. Re-signed a bunch of people: Quincy Williams, Solomon Thomas, Greg Zerline. So we make sure we still have a kicker. Bryce Huff, Ty Johnson help out in the backfield. The big losses: lost Braxton Berrios, lost Sheldon Rankins, Dan Feeney, Mike White, Elijah Moore with a trade to the Browns, Nathan Shepard, and of course James Robinson, who was here for a hot minute. But as for their draft, they got robbed by the friggin' Pittsburgh Steelers because I was hoping they were gonna get Broderick Jones.
Yep.
But instead, they went for the best available player, and that was Will McDonald, the fourth from Iowa State. Yeah.
I don't know. They could have had Nolan Smith.
True. But
Like when I say that he could have gone in the top 15 there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm happy with their two offensive line picks, Carter Warren from Pittsburgh and Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin.
When in doubt, take the Wisconsin lineman.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't think that there has ever been a bad one of those.
Nah, I'm happy with Tippmann. He has Nick Mangold. Nick Mangold
Energy?
Yeah, and oh fuck, what was? I think he was trained under another offensive lineman from the Jets, and I'm blanking on the name.
Oh, not sure.
I'm trying to remember because like I know he was, I know he was trained under him. And I think he was on like the 09-010 team, 2010 team.
Technically, also an 010 team.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, Tittman and Warren, good picks. I'm still confused as why they went running back with Israel Abinaconda. Because you already have Michael Carter and Breece Hall.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, Michael Carter hasn't been producing as much as Breece Hall when he's healthy.
Sure, but who has really?
That's fair. And then Zach Kuntz is probably like the only other pick that might do.
Thought you were gonna have to censor that.
Kuntz.
Gotcha.
From Old Dominion, who might do well because oh crap, then we're gonna have we'll have 4 tight ends because we have Conklin, Uzama, Ruckert, and now Kuntz.
Yeah, I don't know how long Uzama is one of those guys who's just like he could be around for a little bit to kind of mentor young guys.
Yeah,
but I don't know if he's gonna be necessarily somebody who needs to stay too long.
Right, because Ruckert was not Ruckert. Conklin was the go-to. When he was out in the backfield, like Uzama was pretty much there to make sure that Hall had a running lane.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, CBS saying like insane. Kuntz has an insane value. Going in the 7th round.
Yeah, and NFL Network saying kind of the same thing.
But yeah, so can't believe I'm actually doing this. Jets are potential wild card.
All right. Honestly, like better than if you would have put them at a tier higher, but yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, I know it's weird. And now the team that had the best freaking draft. Let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh my God, who keeps letting these guys get away with this?
I don't know, but right now I'm putting them in Super Bowl favorites.
Like there hasn't been this many people from Georgia and Philadelphia. There hasn't been this many people in Georgia, from Georgia in Philadelphia since the fucking Civil War.
Oh God.
I wish I was able to get that first try.
It's fine. But yeah, while they did lose players like again Miles Sanders, Gardner Minshew, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Javon Hargrave, and Zach Pascal, they did retain a good number of the people. They retained Jason Kelce for another year. Fletcher Cox still staying on. They got Rashad Penny from the Seahawks.
Mm-hmm.
They got Marcus Mariota as a backup. Boston Scott got re-signed. Terrell Edmonds, Tyree Jackson, and then the draft.
So let's not okay, so Jalen Carter has his problems.
Mm-hmm.
Like he has off the field problems. He may have accidentally killed a couple people.
Right.
I can't believe I'm saying that kind of flippantly.
Mm-hmm.
And his pro day was bombastic.
Yeah.
But he played really good in the national championship game, and that counts for a lot.
Yeah.
And also, the big knock on Jalen Carter was that he didn't play a ton of reps. Like he was kind of a rotational player.
Mm.
So Philadelphia gets around this problem by just bringing over the entire rotation.
Yeah, drafting Nolan Smith and also getting Keely Ringo in the 4th round.
That feels like collusion. Like, oh my God, he was. I had him as a 2nd rounder at worst.
What Nolan Smith or Keely Ringo?
Keely Ringo.
Oh.
Like that's another player. It's just like, did they forget about him?
Oh my god. Yeah. The Eagles somehow managed to do well again in the draft. How are you
They can't keep getting away with
how are you magnificent bastard? We read your book.
it.
And that and
Yeah.
that and that book is apparently related to Georgia.
Hmm.
All right. Now the other Pennsylvania team that had a really good draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah. They also have a Georgia fetish, apparently,
Mm-hmm.
because they got both Broderick Jones and, for some reason, Darnell Washington. I mean, I guess a third round draft or third round pick, you go, why not?
Yeah. I, I was watching Grossi streams like take Darnell Washington. I want him to give me a piggyback ride.
And he was saying that in the second. He was
Mm-hmm.
saying that when they got Luke Musgrave.
Yeah.
He fell 50 more spots after that.
Yeah, and the one pick that I hands down knew was going to be a Pittsburgh pick, Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State.
I really thought they would end up trading back into the first round, but that's kind of not something that the Steelers do a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They did here, or they did for Broderick Jones, but that was kind of rare.
Yeah, but yeah, the Joey Porter is the Porter family is staying in Pittsburgh.
Yep. Hard to argue it.
Yeah, and everyone's saying Pittsburgh had the best draft.
It was one of the best ones. I will give them that. I think that they are still potential wild card.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I'll put them in potential wild card.
Hmm.
Yeah, okay. Last 5 teams. Now let's go on to talk about the San Francisco 49ers.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So they are a really good team right now, but I don't agree with much of the stuff they did in this draft.
No,
Why are they taking a kicker in the third?
I don't know.
Like, why are you using one of your first picks on a tight end when you have George Kittle? And
Exactly.
then taking another tight end later?
Maybe they want to, again. Maybe they're doing the 2 tight end thing like everyone else is doing.
Are they doing three?
You never
Uh,
know.
they're innovating on that.
But yeah, big losses. Jim. Oh, I know why. Because they lost Robbie Gould.
Oh. Did he
That's
retire?
might have.
Because he's been around forever.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So lost Jimmy Garoppolo, Mike McGlinchey, Samson Mibukum, Son Ridgeway, Robbie again, like I said, Robbie Gould, Emmanuel Mosley. But as far as people they added or retained, Sam Darnold is now a 49er.
Mm-hmm. He might start for them week 1.
Ugh. Matt Pryor, John Feliciano. It's looking. Oh right, they added Cleveland Farrell from the Raiders.
Boo.
I don't think that's a good pick unless they have something, but I doubt it.
I can fix him.
Maybe. And they added Zane Gonzalez or retained him.
That's another kicker.
Yeah, it's another kicker. So
why did they take a kicker?
Backup? I don't know. Maybe they'll have a kick. Maybe they'll have a kicking competition to see.
They're going to innovate the 2 kicker system.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But yeah, they didn't have a pick until the 3rd round. So yeah, it's Jair Brown, Jake Moody, and Cameron Latu were their first 3 picks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've inherited the Rams mantra of "fuck them picks."
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Uh,
granted, their first round pick this year was basically Christian McCaffrey.
yeah.
Or no, that was their second round pick. The first round pick was Trey Lance. Oh.
You. So San Francisco, should we put them in playoff teams or do we put them in potential wild card?
No. I would put them in Super Bowl contenders.
Really?
They were the only reason that they didn't win the NFC last season was because they freaking ran out of they ran out of quarterbacks.
Yeah, that's fair.
If Brock Purdy's arm doesn't turn into that scene from Harry Potter 2, like they beat the Eagles, I think.
Yeah, I did say that I would possibly get a Super Bowl 23 rematch. Okay, Super Bowl contenders it is. All right, now let's
I know that that's kind of high, but like I think they've earned it.
All right. Now let's move on to the Seattle Seahawks.
Right.
Now as far as how they did in the
They killed.
Yeah.
Like in all rounds, they pretty much killed. The only pick that they had that I don't agree with is Zach Charbonnet.
Mm-hmm.
But go on.
Yeah, and pretty much they retained a good chunk of their players. Retained Geno. Drew Lock is still their backup. Re-signed Jason Myers, Ryan Neal, Bobby Wagner. They got Devin Bush from the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
But they did lose a good number. They lost Rashad Penny, Marquise Goodwin, L.J. Collier, Quentin Jefferson, and Jonathan Abram. But yeah, so as far as Seahawks, Devin Witherspoon and JSN in the first round.
That's broken.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're gonna have Legion of Boom too. Like freaking Tariq Woolen, Kobe Bryant from last year, and now Devin Witherspoon. Jesus Christ!
And not to mention they have Legion of Boom. Now they have the freaking Air Force: Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, and now Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Like there was talk that the Seahawks might draft a developmental quarterback this year, but why do that when you could just give Geno all of the weapons?
I know.
Yeah, and even later in the draft, I love the selection or the offensive line picks they got with Anthony Bradford from LSU and Oluwatimi from Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
First off, all name team, but second off, like that's gonna help them big.
Yeah. So yeah, this is gonna be weird. I'm not gonna put them in potential wild card team. I'm putting them in playoff teams.
I'm fine with this.
Yeah.
This does give us 15 playoff teams though, so
I know we'll move stuff around.
yeah.
Well, again, potential wild card means like they could make it, they could not. They might not.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's fair.
But here's one who's not going to be making it. I'm the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Can we put them in number one contenders?
Well, let's see. How did they do as far as their free agency? Because again, since Brady retired, well, again, everyone knows like Brady retired. And they released. I forgot. They released Leonard Fournette. Scotty Miller's gone. Shaq Mason went to the Texans via trade. And Mike Edwards went to the Chiefs. They got Baker Mayfield, Chase Edmonds, and Greg Gaines as their only big as their three signings.
Right.
And then
And it kind of fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say the downgrade from Tom Brady to Baker Mayfield is noticeable.
Yeah, very. I mean, they stopped. I'll give this. I think Kalijah Cansey could do well. From
I
Pitt.
think he's fine.
Mm-hmm.
None of these picks say this team is going to get better.
Mm-mm.
This feels like more along the lines of like we're holding steady and hoping that we find somebody really good in the next draft.
Yeah. Which is why mediocre at best.
I'm fine with that.
All right. Okay. Now let's talk about the Titans.
Okay, this might be the other. I don't feel comfortable just putting the Arizona Cardinals alone in that number one pick contendership.
Yeah.
And the Titans feel like the team that is closest to out and out being there. Because especially if they lose Derrick Henry,
Mm-hmm.
which he's been on the trade block for a while,
Yeah.
that's bad. This team is bad.
Yeah. Not to like the only big signings I could see is Andre Dillard from the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the people they lost: Nate Davis to the Bears, Austin Hooper to the Raiders, Josh Dobbs to the
Mm-hmm.
Browns. Yeah, and
And
I
they
don't.
and they drafted Captain Banana Peels.
Yeah,
Like even some of their other picks, like Tyjae Spears doesn't have a freaking ACL.
gosh.
I like Skoronski, but still.
Yeah, that was my other pick. Like if Skoronski fell to the Jets, like I thought they were gonna take him, but no.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they got Skoronski. They got Banana Peel and
Mm-hmm.
Levis. Uh, question mark, question mark, question mark. I'm putting the Titans alongside the Cardinals in number one pick contention.
There it is.
Mm-hmm. And
And
now
finally,
the Washington Commanders, Dan Snyderless.
I saw a thing somewhere where it's like, are the Commanders going to change their names again now that Dan Snyder's gone?
uh,
Change it back to the football team. Just
no,
do it, you cowards.
I was gonna say no. Change it to the Red Wolves since they got what's his face.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, since Sam Howell.
Mm-hmm. Right.
uh, but yeah. So as far as like how they did in free agency, they kept honestly they're the big winners because they got rid of Dan Snyder. But as far as who they picked up, Jacoby Brissett's fine. As a fine backup. Just looking at others. Yeah, not too many like big names that they've added or retained. But the big loss I think was Taylor Heineke, and because I honestly I don't think he's that bad of a quarterback.
He's fine.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably actually starting Sam Howell this year, and he might be okay, but I just don't know.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. So. And then I don't think they picked up, and like the big thing that I noticed is that they didn't pick up Chase Young's fifth year.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Maybe they're just trying to go ahead and like re-sign him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe. Um. Yeah.
They can't have that much. Like they can't be in too much of a cap. Like they could actually give him a big contract.
Probably. Um.
Mm-hmm.
As far as like who they picked up, can't really don't really see any big standouts. Maybe KJ Henry from Clemson.
Maybe.
And then
When your best pick is a fifth rounder, though, that's a warning sign.
And then maybe Emmanuel Forbes from Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm. That felt like such a reach. Like last year, they drafted Jahan Dotson
Right.
like way higher than anybody had him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but he was still one of their big go-tos outside of McLaurin.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Uh, huh. Yeah, so this team,
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
I am not sure, but I think it definitely put them at mediocre at best, but a high mediocre at best.
Sure. This feels like a 7-10 team that like might have a chance, like might have a puncher's chance to make it
Mm.
like all the way up to the end.
Yeah, I feel like these guys are definitely going to be a spoiler team.
Yes, like the Lions were last year.
Right.
Hmm.
So this is okay. So this is what we have for our potential wild cards. Any other moves up or down?
Hmm.
Because I
Maybe
think
the Rams down.
into number one overall pick.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but
Possibly.
I'll leave that one up to you.
I'll keep him at mediocre at best, but
Hmm.
if they do okay, I'll move up the Packers to potential wild card. If
Why do you do this to me?
sorry, I'll move them up on the basis that if Jordan Love is good.
Okay, sure.
But yeah, so okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's just look at 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, and then okay, so I think that's good. And then one either yeah, I think it's a good as far as the potential wild cards for this year.
Hmm.
So yeah, the Giants can hold it up if Steelers could sneak in. Jets have a potential to make the playoffs this year for the first time in 12 years, 13 years, I
Hmm.
should say.
Yep.
Ravens look good on paper. But we'll see how they do with pretty much their team really well, pretty much aging. Uh, Saints might be the wild card playoff team for the AFC South. Sorry, NFC South. Excuse me. Yeah, I think we got everything.
I think we're good here,
Yeah.
which is good because I'm about to have to leave.
Yeah, we've been going for nearly 2 hours.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. While this has been happening, Teddy's been right next to me watching a movie, and it's going through the credits now. So we got the whole thing in.
Alrighty. Well,
All right.
thank you everybody for joining us. And next time we will, once the schedule finally comes out, we will finally give our predictions of how each team will be doing for next year.
Hmm.